Jehanabad, the latest original series from SonyLiv, is part love story, part crime drama. Set in Bihar's Jehanabad district, the show follows Kasturi Mishra, a third-year college student played by Mirzapur's charming Harshita Gaur, who falls for her English literature professor Abhimanyu Singh, played by the current crown prince of streaming, the always impressive Ritwik Bhowmik. The two fall for each other but find themselves caught in a conservative system run by caste, class and tradition. On the other hand, the crime half of the show follows Naxal leader Deepak Kumar, played with an understated charisma and sparkling unpredictability by Parambrata Chatterjee. After committing numerous murders, Deepak is in a Jehanabad prison as we follow his efforts to communicate with and coordinate with his organization while behind bars, as they all plan something big. All of this takes place under the rule of the town's political leader Shivanand Singh, played by the forever dependable Rajat Kapoor, as well as the SP of police played by Satyadeep Mishra. Both corrupt characters. I don't really know. I'm still not sure how the show wants me to feel about them. Tonally, writer-creator Rajiv Banwal and co-director Satyanshu Singh aren't looking to mount another blustering, explosive, lawless gangland drama like Mirzapur or Jamtara, Maharani or Khaki. Jehanabad is more patient, more subdued, more grounded and less exciting. Between its competent craft, dependable performances and coherent narrative, Jehanabad is a consistently intriguing but rarely compelling series.
They have no clue what is coming at them.
I think they're planning something big, sir.
In terms of its structure, it's a show that wants to keep its cards close to its chest, to keep us on our toes, by only gradually revealing how its various disjointed puzzle pieces, arcs and characters come together. It's a risky narrative structure and in this case not the most effective one. Take the first episode, for example. To me, a great pilot episode should serve as a solid standalone storytelling entity, which firmly establishes the key players, plot, stakes and tone. The kind that grabs you and makes you want to stay within this world and story. But with Jehanabad, the first episode only introduces us to the characters, the who, while telling us nothing about the what or the why. It took me close to 3 to 4 episodes to get a sense of the plot and where any of this is going. The result is a series that isn't necessarily confusing or disorienting, but in the process of trying to be clever, it's one that loses sight of its audience. Jehanabad is then less of a series and more of a 10-part movie, the kind that requires us to stay with it for several episodes before willing to offer us much of a payoff in return. It's the show saying to us, yo, trust me, just stick with me because episode 6 is where things get really crazy. It reminded me of something Eric Kripke, creator of Amazon Prime Video's flagship smash hit show The Boys, said in an interview. I'm paraphrasing, but when discussing narrative structure, he said, the downside of streaming is that a lot of filmmakers are more comfortable with the idea that they could give you 10 hours where nothing happens until the 8th hour, which drives me nuts. But even when the show eventually reveals its hand with all its cards on the table in its spacier, more urgent final few episodes, where the Naxal insurgents' grand plan is finally set in motion, the series still fails to build the heart-racing tension a story like this needs. Amidst all the restless waiting around, what does keep you invested, however, is the touching love story between Kasturi and Abhimanyu. It's a familiar, feel-good, large-hearted romance, supercharged by a heart-stealing Harshita Gaur. I loved, for example, that we get a love story from the girl's perspective. In this initial romance arc of the show, she's the protagonist here, and Harshita keeps her playful and fearless, headstrong and vulnerable, and it's because of her that you really feel the stakes of what follows. Buried somewhere within that love story are the show's more interesting ideas about intergenerational conflict, about a new age young couple forced to contend with an old world system, modern love, struggling to survive within a suffocating conservative society. The show's politics, however, are shakier. Its portrayal of the Naxal insurgents feels strictly one-sided. There is little nuance or balance on offer here. We're rarely allowed to feel for them or their plight. They are but murderous terrorists and schemers alone. But in the end, more than its passable narrative, serviceable storytelling, stale action and overlong 10-episode length that it certainly doesn't earn, Jehanabad left me with something of an existential crisis about the SonyLiv DNA. I'm getting a little tired of the interesting SonyLiv series. Time and again what we get are shows that are too specific, distinctive and competent to dismiss or ignore, but they also rarely manage to make it across the finish line to become something more memorable. More than a terrible show, there's something singularly heartbreaking and frustrating about a promising one that just doesn't pull through. You've heard the term always the bridesmaid but never the bride. Well, SonyLiv feels like the equivalent of always the runner-up but never the class topper. Think of shows like Dr. Aurora or Good Bad Girl, or even to some degree the more potent Fadu, all of which have some incredibly encouraging ideas and elements that just don't come together, with only the occasional Rocket Boys or Scam 1992 to cut through the clutter, like Jehanabad. So consistent are these shows in both their potential and their failure to live up to it, that we are constantly forced to ask ourselves, are we to respect and celebrate their integrity, intent and ambition, or be annoyed and dejected that they don't live up to their own promise? I don't know the answer, but I'm tired of constantly being forced to figure it out. You can watch Jehanabad on SonyLiv.